the first review of 2024. Now, I was thinking about making a joke like, man, I can't believe the last time I seen you guys was last year. But I'm pretty sure everyone already has done that joke. And I'm just gonna say, welcome to Hoot in the Dark 2024. Here's to making it to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And your help will be the greatest gift I ever got. You guys are the best, and I want to say thank you for watching my reviews as well as my live streams in between. I hope to see you guys there for my future videos along the way. Also, this is my first review that I actually wrote a script for and different way to show the footage, so let's hope this avoids any copyright issues. And with that being said, let's see what the first review of 2024 is.
Beck Minzemeyer to...
You made that name up.
No! The phone was ringing. The red phone.
Oh, and who was on the other end? Commissioner Gordon?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna talk about this one. There are very few episodes of King of the Hill that truly brought out this kind of hooted rage out in me like this episode. Season 5, Episode 15. Après Hank, le déluge. Or at least that's my best way of translating it. I'm no expert in French. I mean, I'm not French, Hoots. This episode makes me so angry. I can't even begin to start. So let's get into the episode and I'll explain why this is one of my most least favorite Bill episodes. The utter stupidity from the episode at the shelter and the impossible task Hank has to do just to save South Arlen. Whether or not the flood or being cramped in Tom Landry Middle School had anything to do with it, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The episode starts with the boys in the usual hangout spot, but with a side of soggy weather. They're listening to the radio as they hear the weather alarms go off. Hank instructs everyone to initiate Evacuation Plan A and meet up at Tom Landry Middle School. There's a funny part where Dale and Boomhauer keep getting in each other's way before Dale moves them. All the while, Bill stands there, his usual Bill self. Dale instructs a turtle to find land, plant a cigarette where he'll meet him at the rendezvous point, before letting him float down the stream from his basement. Very typical of Dale to do something like this. I don't need to tell you guys what's gonna happen. That turtle's gonna find dry land, head to the Winchester, and enjoy that Manitoba cigarette with a tall pint and wings, and wait for all this to blow over. Boomhauer is taking his harmonicas, which I never knew he even had a collection of harmonicas. I'm not even sure there's an episode where he played one. What? I know the show. You're looking at a veteran King of the Hill fan. I've seen them all, and this is the first and only time we've seen this collection of musical instruments. Bill, however, is seen getting in his bed, presumably waiting to, well, I'm not going to get into that. It's no secret of Bill's depression. It's mostly being played for laughs, but this time is a tad too dark for me to make this kind of joke about it. Let me just say, if you're ever having any dark thoughts, just know that you are never alone. There are people you can talk to, your fam, your friends, loved ones. There are people out there that really care about you, and you can always count on someone to hear you out if you need someone. Back at the Hill House, there's a cute scene with Luann asking if Hank ordered a duck, while Peggy is getting things ready for the shelter, as Hank goes to grab emergency preparedness kit for floods, which, like Boomhauer's harmonicas, was not in the episode. I mean, he might have put it there as Hank might have known about the storm ahead of time. He might have placed it there so it can be a quick grab while preparing. Hence the word preparedness. Bobby runs into the kitchen with stuffed animals and his essentials, his Nintendo 64 and toys. I'm sure there's more than likely boxes of fruit pies in there hidden amongst the toys to wait out the flood too. It's interesting to see he is bringing 2 controllers, but who are they for? Joseph or Connie? Definitely Joseph. Connie wouldn't want to play Mario Party when she could be doing her schoolwork. Hank tells him he can only bring 1 stuffed animal, and he brings Mr. Charunker. Another adorable moment from Bobby, might I add. Hank drops some foreshadowing about how people can succumb to shelter shock, to revert to acting like children while at shelters, and they assume that it's probably going to be Bobby. Peggy assuring that she'll make sure that he won't go baby on her watch. Little does she know that future events will occur. Hank says he's going to do a final sweep of the neighborhood before taking the pets to the kennel and then meeting them at the shelter. Just then, we get a morbidly cute moment from Luann.
It's like God took our picture before he kills us.
Leave it to Luann to make a cute yet haunting statement. Hank runs to Bill's house where he finds him waiting. Thankfully, he gets Bill to go to the shelter with Peggy, telling him not to stare at her while she drives. For the most part, Bill has always felt like a follower and not a leader, always listening to Hank while not having his own thoughts or opinions. It really helps to build the way Bill does what he does later on. Dropping off the pets at the kennel, he reminds Ladybird that the other animals will be looking up to her for leadership, which is adorable of Hank to think that Ladybird would inherit Hank's natural leadership skills. And let's be honest, she's gonna end up sleeping through most of it, then heading to the Winchester with the other pets, meeting with Dale's turtle, where they enjoy a nice pint, eat some kibble, and wait for all this to blow over. Hank sees a green bug get swept up by the flood, and reverses it to get to higher ground, and no one is there to punch Bug? Tragic. Meanwhile, at Tom Landry, the Super Nuisance Pones arrive, which I never knew just how long the name was until I started writing the script, and now I understand why so many people tend to have a hard time saying it, or just simply say saxophone or making it up. Personally, I would go with Super Hoosenphone, were it not for my long knowledge of the show's deep lore, and hearing the name about a million times at this point. They see the chaos going on, people grabbing supplies, fighting over cots, and kids crying. They take the chance to get set up at the stage, acting like just because they're literally above everyone, that they're superior than everyone else. Now all they need to do is get your coveted Nine Rivers Country Club, and your lives will be perfect. Oh, but that dastardly Ted Wasana song, another name I didn't realize was that long, but not as long as Super Hoosenphones, just won't send the invitations for them to join. How sad for you. Bobby reflects about how he always knew he was going to die in the gym, as Peggy tells him to stop being so dramatic, before realizing she has 3 socks and no underwear. Bill falling over on some towels, not because of what Peggy said, which would be the case most of the time, but since he more than likely didn't even hear her, it was more likely because he was feeling useless, which isn't the case. We've seen where he's taken control of certain situations. He was in army mode, as seen in the episode Taking It to the Streets, where he not only talked down a cop and by letting him go, but saved the gang from being accidentally blown up by the army. Or in Dang-O Love, where Boomhauer fell for a similar depression as Bill, and he actually fell for one of the girls he entertained, and ended up breaking his heart. And Bill stepped in and got him out of his funk and helped him move on from her and into another woman's bed, as Bill says. Both are amazing episodes, and it really shows that Bill has much more worth than he thinks he has. Also, Hank cries for Bill when he thinks he's been blown up, which is not a common thing for Hank to do, especially in front of others. With most of the roads being closed off, Hank seeks higher ground and drives to the top rampy dam, where he sees the door is left ajar when he hears the red phone ringing. I wonder if it's Commissioner Gordon trying to reach out to Batman to see who's causing the flood of Ireland. He addresses himself as Assistant Manager Strickland Propane when T. Buck Menzemeyer of the Upper Brazos River Authority, or BRA for short, asks if Everett was off combing his mustache. And don't worry, I'll get to that cowardly knockoff Sam Elliott in a moment, which I had to wade through an ocean of scummy death hoaxes when looking up his name and about his passing in August 4th of last year. Rest assured that he's very much alive at 79 years old and still looking the same way he did in the 80s, just with white hair, of course. He notices the chair is on its side as he talks to Mr. Menzemeyer about the current state of the dam. Hank notices there's some hairline cracks, which apparently were always there, but he is told if the cracks get bigger, then he has to open the floodgate, which will destroy several homes and businesses on River Oaks Drive and a new outlet mall. But he keeps the dam closed, and all of South Arlen will be wiped out before hanging up, leaving Hank to make an impossible decision that will set in motion the events of why I hate this episode so much. Not from Hank, mind you. He was never supposed to be even in that situation in the first place. It should have been in the hands of Everett. but we'll soon find out where he's been the entire time while Hank was grappling with this difficult choice. Kinda makes the events of Hank's choice not that bad. I mean, speaking of Hank's choice, pun intended. Meanwhile, we see Boomhauer playing the harmonica, and he's pretty good at it. We Hoots have a hard time playing the harmonica. You know, our wings kinda make it hard. I mean, we can use our feet, but that's just plain silly. Bill walks out of the storm to relieve himself, which makes no sense considering there's bathrooms there. I mean, hello, you're at a school, Bill. When he runs into someone from the Emergency Operations Center, bringing fresh cinnamon rolls, to which he starts scarfing them down. Seeing Bill scarf them down, two-handing them, really makes me mad. There are other people in there, scared and hungry, and all he cares about is in Fontaine de la Tour d'Autrive. Joseph asks Dale, is everything going to be okay? And Dale goes on about making an ark for his family, which again, something Dale would do. Quick question, Dale. Why does that one look like Peggy? Dale? You might want to not show that to Hank. Just then, Bill finally walks in with the cinnamon rolls, presumably eating the top rack. And another person of the EOC asks who's in charge, and everyone assumes it's Bill, aka Army Guy, just because he brought in the rolls and not eating them like he usually would have. The episode The Fat and the Furious is a good example of that. It was in season 7. Also, Bill stress eats, so the fact that these cinnamon rolls made it inside the shelter and not in Bill's gut is a surprise. He's given the shelter kit and a satellite phone and a link to the EOC, which he does immediately. You might be thinking that I'm being rather harsh to Bill. In that case, you haven't watched the episode prior to review, in which case, either pause this video, go watch the episode, and then come back, then keep watching King of the Hill and be normal like the rest of us. Luann and Peggy lament on the discovery. Bobby wants to play hide and seek with Joseph, and fearing the shelter shock is happening to Bobby, gives him the master key and sends him off to the teacher's lounge in the B-plot. Which, in all honesty, I don't really care about in this episode. With everything going on with Hank and Bill and how mad it makes me, I just don't care much about anything else. And it's just really boring in my opinion. But again, the episode is there for you to enjoy if you want to see it. Back with Hank, he sees the cracks are getting bigger, which brings up a good question. What would have happened if Hank didn't open the gate? Would it have been fine? Or would the dam burst, causing the entirety of South Ireland to be wiped out by the crushing weight of the flood? All this is just ignored in favor of everyone just calling him the Ireland Flooder. And I get it, it's for the show and for humor and to show how power can corrupt Bill. But it's like all logic and reason are gone when Hank arrives to the shelter. Speaking of which, Bill had a difficult decision on his own. What kind of juice to make. In all seriousness, it's an interesting contrast between Hank's dilemma and Bill's. Bill not being important at all, and Hank being the difference of a part of Ireland being flooded or all of South Ireland. Hank makes a difficult decision and opens the gate, and Bill picks Cherry, which everyone cheers. Meanwhile, Hank sits back, not relieved that he saved South Ireland, but devastated that he had to do what he had to do. Peggy asks where Hank is, that he still hasn't shown up, and thinks that Bobby has shelter shock, when she's the one that's starting to feel its effects. And to be fair, Bill is doing a pretty good job as a leader, now that he has a sense of purpose, and the lives of the people at the shelter are looking up to him. He's stepping up and being a good leader. Bill informs everyone of the unfortunate flooding of River Oaks Drive and the new outlet mall when Hank arrives. Hank asking if everyone that lives below the dam made it here safely, to which Bill informs that they did under his watch, which is a lie considering that he only became leader when everyone was there. And remember when I said he was being a good leader up to this point? Well, that all changed when Hank arrives and his role of shelter leader is at stake. You're about to see a side of Bill that only comes out when he's giving any amount of power and authority, and it begins to change him. And not for the better. This also happens in Season 13, Episode 16, Bad News Bill, which does have some similarities of how Bill acts and how much I hate Bill in both episodes. I especially hate when Hank tries to remind Bill that he's supposed to be shelter leader. Bill's first response is,
I got the phone.
That doesn't matter if you have the phone. You're not supposed to be shelter leader. You did your job as temp leader for Hank, and now that he's back, you can do what's right and give him the phone and the vest back to Hank. But that's not what happens. When Hank tells everyone that he saved South Arlen, they turn on Hank for flooding the small section of homes and businesses, which is also bad, but considering the alternative, which is all of South Arlen, it's the better of the two outcomes. But, of course, no one considers that. They just attack Hank and completely dismiss everything he says. Why would someone like Hank make something like this up? The idiot in the 2000 lift funds should keep his mouth shut before I pack it off. Sorry, that was too much. It's just this episode, and for that matter, every episode that makes Hank out to be the bad guy when he had completely justifiable reasons for doing what he did just steams my feathers. When Hank tries to explain to the idiots about the cracks in the dam, Everett decides to chime in. Oh yeah, guys, Everett was at the shelter the entire time. He abandoned his post like a coward and probably seeing the hairline cracks forming and ran for it. And when Hank calls him out, Fred Durst over here says this.
Hey, don't make this about Everett.
Don't make it about Everett? This has everything to do with Everett. He was supposed to be there to make the decision, not Hank. Don't put Hank on the spot when he was only trying to save South Arlen. Everett was the one that left his post like a coward, and everyone completely ignores it and just keep going after Hank like Hank isn't upset about having to open the gate and flood those houses and homes. But no, and all Edward can do is just stand there like some badass combing his nasty lip weasel when he should be the one that's being put on the fire, not Hank! No matter what Hank says, they all dogpile on him. It's just so infuriating to watch. It just makes me want to yank out Everett's mustache and chew it up and ram it up. We seem to be having some technical difficulties. We apologize for the inconvenience. Please stand by as we try to get the review back and running and our favorite little Hootie is calmed down, so he's not upset at the fact that everyone keeps attacking Hank, and they should be attacking Everett, who left his post like a coward he is, and this is all his— Okay, guys, I'm good. I'm cool, I swear. I'm gonna just let go of the fact that Hank is being dogpiled by everyone who has no idea of the choice Hank had to make. The fact that Everett, who is responsible for putting Hank in that position, can just stand there, posing like a sassy Ned Flanders and calling Hank a chicken when he was the one that ran away from his post to begin. Okay, I swear. I'm good. But you get why I hate this episode. Everyone is so stupid here, they dogpile Hank, and Everett claims—
Yeah, well, maybe if I'd stayed at my post, we'd still have an outlet mall.
Well, where were you? Oh, wait, you were here, being a coward. Con brags about how he has the prime spot at the gym, feeding his narcissism, and schemes with Min on controlling the shelter, when in reality no one cares less about these idiots when they're busy attacking Hank, when Min sends Con to suck up to Bill like some slimy advisor. Also, Dale is making a makeshift ark with anything he can get his hands on, which of course Bill allows, as Hank sees kids playing with flashlights and goes to try and take control of the situation as Peggy sleeps with Mr. Taranki. Which honestly, the parts with Peggy slowly becoming childlike is an adorable and needed break from the stupidity of this episode. Just as Hank is trying to get things in control, some idiot tries picking a fight with Hank, not realizing who he's messing with. Seriously, all Hank has to do is glare at people and they crumble like paper. That's real Chad energy, I tell you what. Meanwhile, Bill is goofing around with a satellite phone. Hank tries to get the phone from Bill and get this mess under control that Bill started, and Bill's acting like a big baby, pretending like Hank is causing a commotion, and gets his men to take Hank to the cage, which is just Octavio with a taser and Lane Prattley. A weird team up, but an interesting one, I'm not gonna lie. Bill then exclaims that he locked up the island flooder. I promise I'm going to get through this review without jumping through the screen and throttling Bill with his EOC vest. Hank uses the opportunity to work out his legs, which I hope he's wearing his gluteal orthotics because that seat cannot be good on them glutes. Todd is then promptly sent to the cage for stealing toilet paper.
Cage was my idea. Ironic, huh?
Bill brings Peggy breakfast. When she asks where he is, Bill lies and says,
Went with Con to work up a skit about hygiene.
when in actuality, Hank and Con are actually thinking of a plan to get out of the cage, and Con tries to weasel up to Hank, but he ain't having none of it. Dale keeps working on the Ark, which I'm surprised he even got to this point, and Nancy tells him to get down and get some to eat when the mess breaks. Which is another thing that keeps me going during this review. Bill informs everyone that they are out of cinnamon buns, and when they ask how they could run out, when Bill said that they never run out, a lie obviously, Bill blames it all on Hank, saying he ate them when he's been locked up in the cage the entire time, and says there's plenty of Carnation instant breakfast and gets everyone's approval again. Which is probably another lie and will run out soon. Back with Hank and Con, they're using the leg machine to pull the door off the ground and escape. And dang, Hank got some leg strength. If only he could put some of that into his diminished glutes. They make their way under the bleachers, and just as they make it to the exit, it's revealed that Con double-crossed Hank to sneak his way back beside Bill like a slimy toad. And honestly, I'm not really mad at Con. I mean, it's Con. Hank should have seen this coming from the two-faced little
banana.
And all for a blowhorn that the batteries are even dead. Bill tries to act intimidating to Hank, obviously forgetting that Hank can fold him faster than Dale folds clothes. Which, may I add, is very fast, considering, Dale was towelboy for Hank's football team. You guys have been watching the episodes, right? Huh? You should know Dale was a towel boy. Pop quiz. What injury cost Hank the big game? Let me know in the comment section below if you're the real Hank Hill fan. I'm joking. While Hank is trying to talk sense into Bill, he finds out that the storm had already ended, and Bill was keeping people there to keep control. And Hank finally gets through to him and gets him to let everyone out. Thank goodness for that. I was worried Hank was gonna have to kick Bill's ass. Let's be honest, Bill had it coming. Bill unlocked the doors. He tries to make a speech before giving up and letting one out, probably feeling bad about what he did. That, or he knew he couldn't keep everyone any longer and just ended the chaos once and for all, for our sakes. He opened the door to the beautiful outside world as everyone goes to their normal lives. Peggy giving us one last funny line.
His name is Peanuts.
Honestly, this should have been the B-plot. I mean, Peggy becoming more childlike, considering she was all about Bobby becoming childlike and shelter shock, and she ends up getting it. It seems like a much funnier B-plot than what we got with Bobby, Joseph, and Connie, which, don't get me wrong, those are great characters and I like when they team up, but this one was just boring, I don't know. Bill laments that they won't need him anymore, and Hank assures him that that means that he did his job, which he didn't, and Hank didn't have to say that to him, but that proves that Hank is a better person than Bill. And me, for that matter. A kid asks Bill if he could talk to their scout troop about what it takes to be a good leader, and the mom asks if Hank left his coat behind, then throwing it in a puddle and calling him a flutter before leaving. And I'm done with this review. Can you believe that Bill kept them in the shelter for 2 days after the storm stopped? Anyways, that was Après Hank Le Deluge. I hope you enjoyed the review, and I apologize for freaking out. But can you understand why I hate this episode, right? There's no reason for everyone to be so hostile to Hank, and when he wasn't the one that ran away from his responsibilities. Everett was. But it was like he got away with being a coward and abandoning his post and leaving Hank with no other option but to chat up and do what Everett was too scared to do. Make an impossible decision. And had no good outcome, but a better one than the latter. Which again, was the entirety of South Ireland to be wiped out. But none of that was brought up because everyone was quick to respond and ignore Hank and simply went after him for something that many people, including Everett, wouldn't have the courage to do. Make difficult decisions. But that's why Hank is the better leader, and Bill should just listen to him and give him the phone and the vest and stay out of it till the storm stopped. But if that happened, it wouldn't have made an interesting episode. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm gonna go rest from this nightmare of an episode. Until then, guys, what do you guys think of the episode? Was Hank right, or do you believe that what he did was wrong? Let me know in the comment section below. Until then, I will see you guys when you visit the gallery again. Hopefully, when I have a new PS5. Thank you so much for watching. Join the Parliament of Hoots today and hit the bell to let you know when I go live or my next video is up. Don't forget to like the video and share with your fams. Let me know what you guys think of this episode in the comment section below. Check out these 2 videos, it'll take you to more of my content. Don't forget to follow me on my other platforms, Twitter and PlayStation Network. I might get a Twitch sometime, but in the near future. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching as I gave my Hoot in the Dark.